If any of you have heard the song Varsity Blues by the rapper Wale, you should know the basic premise on which the song is written. It's in college sports today, especially the revenue sports of football and men's basketball, our athletes are being exploited. A verse goes in the song, they're always in their class, they always have their practice, and while they're bumming for cash, you made a grip off a racket. And in summary, all that verse is saying is that people are getting rich off the athletes' hard work. And this is an exact analogy of what the NCAA is doing today. We need to find a way to fairly compensate those whose hard work drive the money train of the NCAA. So I said the NCAA and its universities need to pay their athletes a $4,800 a year stipend aside from scholarships. First, I'll give you some realities of life as a student athlete. Second, I'll give you the realities of what Murray Sperber calls college sports mega ink. And then finally, some thoughts on reform. So facts fill out a situation like this better than stories. So here's some actual statistics on a Division I college football player. Each weekday is an hour of film, an hour of workout, 2 hours of meetings before 2 hours of practice. The night before a game is filled with 4 hours of meetings and film, and then the day of the game is 3 hours of meetings and walkthroughs, and then the 4-hour game. So when added all up, that comes out to a full-time job for these athletes, 40 plus hours a week, 6 days a week. Scholarship athletes receive a $1,000 per month stipend for everything other than tuition and books. That means food, housing, gas, Nike Air Maxes, whatever it may be. Well, when added all up, that comes out to $6.25 per hour, which is 2/3 the minimum wage in the state of Washington. And even if tuition and books are added into the athlete's income, that still comes out to $13.97 per hour for their work, which is about an average paying job for a college student. So with Lakeview, we can compare that to a vocational student, a student who also works 40 plus hours a week. It is true that athletes receive perks like free tutoring, free clothing, and free entry to sporting events. But let's make the fair comparison that the physical toll inflicted on an athlete's body is like working 20 hours of overtime in a regular job, which is actually sometimes the case if you account the hours of rehab and treatment and icing that goes on for the athlete. Anyway, the vocational student, if he had 20 hours extra of overtime in his pocket, he should be able to easily obtain the tutoring, the clothes, and the free entry sporting events with that extra income. So the only difference, I say, between the non-athletes and the athletes is that the non-athletes do not make their universities millions of dollars each year from their craft and do not get paid for it. But don't put the blame solely on the universities, because the NCAA, or as Murray Sperber, the author of Beer and Circus, likes to call it, the college sports mega ink, has the final say on all the rules of college athletics. The NCAA also has the best business plan of any enterprise in the nation. They make billions of dollars, $6 billion last year to be specific, and they don't have to pay their employees a dime. The NCAA argues that athletes are amateurs and therefore should not be paid, but I disagree that these college athletes are professionals just in a university farm system. I mean, there's a reason why the NBA and the NFL do not have minor leagues. It's because these universities are professionally training these athletes for free, you know. And so, anyway, where does money go? Well, according to a couple sources, the coaches and administrators are seeing the bulk of the cash flow. I then ask you if you know who the two highest paid state employees are in the state of Washington. Well, according to the Office of Financial Management, there's Stephen Sarkisian and Lorenzo Romar, those two names which ring a bell. Each make more than 10 times that of Christine Gregoire, our own governor. An even better stat, stated by Joan O'Shara of the New York Times. New York Times says that Mark Brown, the head football coach for the University of Texas, made $5 million last year, which is $2 million more than the combined amount of scholarship money for his own players. That then leads to thoughts on reform. It should start with the leaders. Coaches and administrators make these huge salaries because the universities can't afford it. They don't have to pay their athletes. So start with a salary cap that says that no coach or administrator can make more than $1 million per year. That would free up revenue not only to pay the athletes, but also to give back to the academic department, which will better the student body as a whole. Second idea of reform has to do with scholarships. There's another verse in the song Varsity Blues that goes, "They always defend you, look how they say your name, but if you rupture a tendon, I bet the feelings change." And unfortunately, that's the sad stories of scholarships today. As it is now, a scholarship is a 1-year renewable grant for up to 6 years. That means that if an athlete is severely hurt or is just flat out underperforming, they can be cut from the team, lose their scholarship, and possibly lose their spot at the university if they don't have the funds to continue. That doesn't sound like an academic first attitude to me. That sounds like what professional teams do to their unfortunate athletes. So if the NCAA and its universities want to be taken seriously with their academic first mission, they will change the scholarship to a 6-year guaranteed grant. Third idea of reform is that there needs to be a college players association to act as a union, or at least as a mediator between the athletes and the governing body, NCAA. Because as it is now, athletes don't have any rights, they have no voice, and with a CPA, at least they will be given a fair opportunity. And of course, the final little bit of reform is that the athletes need to be compensated to the tune of $4,800 per year, which is a modest amount and a step forward away from the current exploitation of these athletes. College Sport Mega Inc. says they're amateurs, testimony says they work full-time, coaches say they better perform, fans say they better perform, teachers say they better perform. Everybody wants the money, and it all rests upon the shoulders of those caught in the very own varsity blues.